Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Jay, Gabriela, Wesley. Welcome back to this session. Let me just at the screen. I have a question before to start. Do you try some of the exercises or labs I added into the page, or did you have any issues in the previous session? Is there any question do you want to see before we can start? If it's not any question, Jay, please, could you disable the blocker? Because I think we will block everyone the microphone. If you can update for the next session, the microphone enabled, so everyone who wants to say something can also participate.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So today we are in the fourth session. The topic of today is going to be Jira automations. In order to follow this, I want to do a couple of generic concepts, or I would say introductory concepts we need to understand in order to use the best all the possibilities Jira has in cloud for automation. Let me just show you a bit what we are going to see today. We are going to start with 4 concepts. One of them is what are the Jira events. The other one is the workflow transitions. We will not go deep to see the workflow transitions because this is part of the certification 120, but as part of the 620 I saw in the previous exam, they ask you some generic theoretical questions that you must understand, because if you don't understand that part, you can escape or you will not be able to answer some of those questions. So I will just show in high level how they looks like. Then we have as well what Atlassian automation particularly use, Jira automation. In Jira, they call it smart values. But to understand what is a smart value, we need to understand first what is a variable. So we will see first what is a variable, and then how these variables into Jira works into the smart value. And then we will see as part of the general concepts, REST API or HTTP request. Again, REST API is a word. You can, if you want to learn how to code, you will see that the way they work is kind of advanced and very sophisticated. In Jira, they have one module we can use in Jira automation. That's the reason, because I want to present what they are, what they are used for. So whenever you have a business scenario question, you can understand and you can answer the question. After that, we will see the topics that is part of the agenda of the ACP-620 certificate, which is bulk change, workflow automation, automation using apps, Jira automation, then one example of creation of automation based in a business case. Then something they didn't mention, but it's kind of quick, it's a tip and trick, I would say, Jira automation template. If you want to learn advanced Jira automation, I really recommend to start with Jira automation template, because you will see examples that you can reuse it, modify, and update. And then the last part of automation, which they mention as troubleshoot Jira automation, there is not much we can do, but at least one topic related to the auto assignee I want to talk about. So let's start. General concepts. What is a Jira event? Basically, when we work in Jira, any change we do in the ticket, in the project, in the sprint, in the version field, in the board, any of them has a list of events trigger kind of an internal alarm. For example, when I create a ticket, Jira sent an internal notification to the system that a ticket has been created. Then, based on this event, what the system will do is we'll send an email, we'll start an automation, will send a webhook, will do things. This is basically what is a Jira or an event in Jira are. Anytime you do a change, a modification in terms of configurations or update a ticket or update a project or update sprint and version, there are more event categories. I just added the most important. Organized in red, again, this is the most important. You must really know what is the issue event, because it's basically what is going to help us to automate multiple functions related to a project. For example, when I receive a ticket and the ticket is assigned to a specific label or a specific, or it has a description like support in the description, I can easily detect that the description contains the word support, and I can assign to the support team automatically. So issue events, you must have a look. There are not too many. They are 8 events, as you can see here. And from those 8 events, the most used, the most common you are going to see as case scenario is going to be the issue created. What is that? Whenever you create a ticket, the first event after the creation is going to happen is the issue created. So we will use very often the issue created. As well the others, just have a look. For example, issue update is when you change a field or when you modify a value, when you set up a new value into the ticket, into the issue, that is going to be triggered. Issue update. When you change the assignee person, it's going to be triggered the issue assignee. When you move the ticket from one status to another, it's going to trigger the transition event as well. With someone with permissions to delete a ticket or an issue, everyone who is related to this event will be notified or will receive an automation or anything you have. So from this list, I would say create, update, assignee, transitioned are the most relevant, and commented, because also we use very often business case the issue commented event. And out of the issue event, I mark in yellow what also can be in the exam, not very often, but could happen, is the sprint events. For example, when you create a sprint, when you close on the sprint, when the sprint is completed, or the version event. When we added the ticket into the release version and then we release the version, we will trigger the version released. Or when we create a new version as well, the version created, I would say from here the most important is going to be the maybe definitely released. Unreleased, not really sure, but could happen, and as creation as well. Whenever a new release is created, we can capture this event and do additional work on them. Then we have the board events. Board events is same. We can create multiple boards as we saw in the previous examples. Once you create a board, you can automatically assign to the project lead, or you can automatically add a specific field to help us to organize the board visibility. So in this case, it's going to be useful. Not really important, but useful to know that there are board events, project events, similar as the board events. The next concept, which is related to workflow and transition, how to start here. Whenever we have a ticket, this is the theory. Let me just show you one example. Choose one of the tickets we have created. For example, this is basically the workflow. The workflow of a ticket or an issue is the status the ticket can go, starting from to do or the initial status you have. Starting in create, then goes to do or any other initial status you have, and then you can move to the different other statuses like in progress and done. Basically, this is the workflow, but in each transition, in each change between one status to the next one, there are things happening in the backend. What are those things? Basically are when you move from, in this example, when we move into in progress, we have a source status, we have a target status. The the action, what the action they mean is the transition name. For example, here, if I click on this section, I see the name of the status I'm going. If there is a specific or different name, I will see, for example, reopened. That action will be called reopen. If I have another transition moving into progress with a specific name, I will see those names. Those names are part of the property of the transitions. This transition has a specific name. That name will be displayed into the ticket. And also, there are things happening in the backend whenever you do an action. One of them is the condition. The condition is basically in order to click and go to the next status, the button action, this one, will be visible or not if the ticket cover all the conditions. That is going to happen always and always happen before before you click to do in progress or before you do anything. Basically appears when you load the ticket, automatically will check and validate all the conditions. And if the ticket fits all the conditions, you will be able to transit. So it's a required step in order to execute the transition. Then additionally, whenever you move from one status to another, you can include a specific screen with custom fields. And when you add a screen into the transition, always will be included the comment. You cannot hide the comment, it's part of the screen in transitions. But you can customize the fields. For example, what we have here is field 1 and is marked as required. If you want to include required fields without any plugins, what you have to do is you need to configure the configuration field screen we saw in the previous session. So if you configure in that, here will be as mandatory. Then you also have other fields, in this example, field 2 and field 3. And here in the field 2, I mentioned as could be validated, because after you display the field, the screen, and you want to move the ticket from one status to the next status, what you can do is, before to complete execution and before to go to the next status, you can add here validators. For example, I want to validate a field with 10 characters. I can include this validator. So if someone takes more than 10 fields, you will be blocked and you will have a message here. You're not allowed to add more than 10 characters. Just a random example, but this is how it works in the validators. The validators will appear when you have a screen related to the transition and when you add some type of validators. In order to go to the next one, the users needs to basically complete the conditions of the validator. Whenever they cover these conditions, you will be able to go to the next step. And in the backend, we don't see this part. Also, there are post functions. These post functions, what they do, basically, you are allowed to include type of automations in the transition. For example, when a ticket moves from in progress to done, I can include an action to complete the subtasks, move all the subtasks to done as well. Or I can also move the parent tasks, or I can move the epic to on review status. I can include these additional actions in the post function. Also, the post function has what we mentioned before. When we transit from one status to another, we can have here the standard event, which is issue transition, or we can also include custom events. So we can customize our events and include an event here. It's a lot of theory. It's not part of the ACP-620, but you really need to understand that workflow because some of the questions will be related with this process. Another question I had in the last exam was why a ticket, when it's in a specific status, cannot be modified, even if the user can modify in other statuses. This as well is an advanced configuration of the workflow and happens exactly here. Each status also have additional information. They call status properties. What we can do with these status properties is display, change the order of the status, also block the edition when a ticket is in this status. The most common business case is if you want to block the edition of a ticket, when the ticket goes to a specific status, use status properties. I would really recommend highlight this because, as I mentioned, I got in the previous exam and it's very important. It's a typical business case. Whenever you, for example, you're working in a ticket and you complete your task and now you want to block anyone else modifying or return the ticket to a previous status because the ticket has been completely closed, you can just add the property in the status property, and that will allow you to have this functionality. The next one is about what is a variable and what is this smart value. Basically, in the left side, what we have, maximize, in the left side, what we have is the concept of variable. For example, I want to store company WiQU Ltd, and the year was founded 2023 into my system. WiQU Ltd is a type of text, so requires a container to store text, while founded is a number, a numeric value. So it requires a container where I can store numbers or type of, basically this is the point. A variable allows us to store information in a specific format into the system. In this example, I have two containers, two boxes. The first one is called text type. It's just an empty text type. The second one is a box with a numeric container, so you can store their numbers. And the action to store or set a variable value, this is my value, is assigned to a specific field or a specific variable, the value I have defined. And then I have those values. Why I explain this is because this is in programming language. This is in high level what is a variable. It's basically a container where you can store values, and there are multiple type of values you can store. So you have multiple type of containers to store each of those values. Now moving into Jira, Jira have what they call smart values. What are smart values? Basically is the concept of variable that we have in programming, but into Jira they call a smart value. It's a bit more simple than the standard value, because in the standard variable, what you need to know is the type you are using for the container, then store and use different type. In Jira, you just can use multiple smart values that contains the information of each issue type, each project, each board. And you can get those values, the information inside of them, by using the syntax. For example, in the issues related, what I can see is if I want to have the description of this issue in code, I just need to start with double quote brackets, dot description, and then close it, the brackets. And then if I want to have the issue key, same, I start with the same format, issue dot is the operator to get the property of my issue key, and then close the brackets. Similar. In the case of a status, appear a bit more complex. I could say issue.status, but the status is an object, is an element that contains attributes inside. In this case, status has has category and has name. That's why in order to get the name of the ticket in a specific status, what we do is we do issue.status.name. Or if I want to have the summary, issue.summary, or if I want to have the version, issue.versions, and so on. This is the standard way of getting those elements. Why I want to have this information? For example, when a ticket is created and I want to add into the description the issue key, the person who created, and the data has been created, I can just collect each of them and add it into the entire description. I'm going to show you the example, so don't worry. And this list of smart variables is a big list of smart variables. I don't really recommend to learn all of them. I just recommend to know that they exist, to know that what is the concept in high level the smart variable. Use some of the issues standard like description, summary, maybe the key, which is very important. Do a couple of examples. The exam will not focus in smart variables itself, but in the theory, we'll ask you about some of the generic understanding of the smart values. You have the standard smart values, which are part of the system. You don't need to create them, you just need to use them. But as well, if you want to create a combination of both, for example, I want to create a new ticket using the description of the original ticket plus the summary of the ticket plus the reported of the ticket, and create a ticket escalated to support team. What I need to do is I need to create a new variable called smart value. I will call example variable, and then I can add all of the information here. And what will happen is all of this information will be stored in my new variable. Basically, what I want to do is I can combine WiQU LTD and 2023 in a single box by creating a new variable and putting both together. This is what is the example. Again, I'm going to show you how to do in the practical case. I will do a couple of them, the combination, the creation of the smart value, and we will see also the standard. So it's going to be more easy to understand, but keep in mind, this is the idea of the variable and smart value. The other concept they don't introduce, but is part of the modules of Jira automation, is what are REST API and HTTP requests. In high level, what we need to understand is a protocol. REST API, HTTPS request, basically is a protocol that allows us to use one application to communicate with other application. In Jira, there is a module in the Jira automation that we can trigger whenever we do an automation. For example, I want to add a message in Teams channel. In the message must contain source, the Jira ticket, and then the summary of the ticket. So I can use the module of Jira. I can include the information for summary. I can include information from the issue key. I can put together into a comment and then send to Teams, and Teams will add in a team message, for example. Basically, for you, what you need to understand is REST API and HTTPS is just a protocol, a convention the application has to communicate between them, or communicate one application with another application. The easiest way, a simple way, is using REST API and HTTPS. And I think that's it. We start with the practical cases. Before we start with the agenda of the practical cases, about the 4 previous concepts, is there any questions? Do you want to highlight? Do you want to double check and review? If it's not any question, let's start with the next part. The next part, basically, Atlassian asks to, can we do massive change or multiple changes at the same time? Yes, we can. There is a process called bulk change. I'm going to show you right now. Basically, bulk allows us to modify, to change the details of the ticket, multiple tickets at the same time, update the status of tickets, multiple tickets at the same time, allow us to delete or transition all those tickets. So let's see how the bulk process works. And as well, here I will do one small comment. Let's see, I think we have a couple of projects created. I will use this one. We have all of these tickets we have created previously. Questions they will ask, first, let's see the bulk. In order to do the bulk, there is a couple of options to do. One of them is here. Yeah. So one option is go to your project, go to issues. Once you are in your issues in this section, you go here and then bulk. Let's do first one operation. You click. Let's repeat. Sorry, sometimes I do a bit fast. I'm in the backlog. Go to issues. Triple dot bulk 17 changes, and then I have the entire list of the issues I want to change, or I can change. I'm going to select all of them. The next one is I'm going to here you have all these options. Watch watch means you can listen the ticket. So anyone is doing a change, you will be notified. You will receive a email notification of the changes on that ticket. You can delete all those tickets. We are going to do these three because I think this move and transition has a bit tricky things. We can stop watching because multiple times what happens is we're receiving notifications from multiple tickets that someone tagged us, or automatically we became a watcher and we are receiving notifications that we are not really interested in them. So we can filter using a JQL or a standard filter. We filter all of them and then we click in here and then we will stop to watch all of those. Let's start with a simple edit. We select the option edit, and then I have multiple options to change all my fields. I can change the standard field. I can change the custom fields. Those, for example, label is a standard field, actual start date, I think no, they're not standard field, they are a plugin field. Approver as well, standard fields. Let's see if I have at least one. Don't really know which one of them are because we added multiple examples. So I'm going to start with reporter. I will change the reporter to J. The other thing I will add is a question can be, exam question can be related to the component, to the fixed version or affected version. Fixed version and affected version has a couple of options. In the case of reporter, I can change and select the name I want to reassign or to be the new reporter. In the case of assign, same. I can assign myself all of them automatically. But in the case of component and this type of label fields like fixed version, affected version, I can do more things. I can replace all of them with a new value. I can replace all of them with AWS. I can add to because as you know, the affected version, the fixed version are multiple values. So I can add 2, 3 versions. And on top of them, I can include additionally another one. Let me see if I have. I will include to the existing version to the MVP3. And then also I can clear and I can remove a specific one. For example, I want to remove in all my tickets the version 2. So by the end, in the affected version, all tickets that has the release MVP2 will be removed from the affected version. In the fixed version, all the tickets will have additionally the MVP3. So that could be a question. That's it. Let's start. You have also an option to notify if all your changes you do. In the past, I remember was enabled by default, now has been disabled by default. You can enable if you need it. So then I have a list of the issues that are going to be affected by my rule change. I have the list of values. And that's it. All the tickets has been, the majority of the tickets has been assigned to me as expected, but some of them, no, yes, all of them has been assigned to me. Yes. Perfect. Questions about this point of bool change. We update the component, and we mentioned before that the component allow us to auto-assign the people. It's correct, that's true, that happened, but now we didn't create. That usually happen in the creation. When you create a ticket and the ticket has a component, will auto-assign. But when you do a bulk update, what is going to happen is the action you are doing, in my case is assignee, is going to have a priority and this is what is going to work. Let me repeat the process, but in this case, I'm going, yes, yay.
My question is there any maximum number of issues you can select on bulk change or no limit?
There is a limit. As far as I remember, it was 1,000, but I don't really remember if it has
Okay,
been
there is a limit.
updated
I
or
just
not.
want to know.
Yeah, there is a limit. You cannot
Thank you.
change everything. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try the second operation. We did the update. Now we can do the move. In the case of move, what I saw in the exam is company, for example, to Gabriela. First, before to execute the change, I want to show you what Gabriela has in her project. So Gabriela company managed project. She doesn't have any ticket, either in the backlog, either in issues. And let's have a look at components. She doesn't have any component. And inactive is in release. She doesn't have also release version. So what the exam will ask you is about what happened if you move a ticket or a task. Let me see. Yes, I select all of this. What happens if you move a ticket of a task that contains release and fixed version when you move to a project that doesn't have those values? Because components and releases lives in one project. So we click on here. And then whenever we move, because the status is the workflow you have in your project is different with the workflow Gabriela has in her project, you also need to do the mapping status. I'm going to move all of them to in progress. And then this is the part of the question. What is going to happen with the, or they will not ask you what is going to happen. What they will ask you is a user move the tickets from one project to another and then lose the stop to see the fields, components, or fixed version. Why that could be? The first option is simple because they didn't have any value, so it's going to be clean. But let's add one value in components just to force a bit this example. I will add AWS as a new component. So I will refresh the screen and let's see. So if the project destination doesn't have any component, automatically will be clean the value. If the project destination has some values, some components, I can select and map them. If they have the same name, automatically will be recognized and select the same naming convention. But if they don't have the same name, you need to choose what you want to do. If you do a no, it's going to be deleted. If you keep, it's going to remain. So as part of the troubleshooting here will be, what are the options that could happen that the user stop to see components and fixed versions when the other user moved the ticket from one project to another? One option is simple. The other project doesn't have components or fixed version, so all the values has been deleted. Other option could be the fields of components and versions are not part of the screen of the other project. So even if they have the value, they cannot visualize. Now let's complete here. And that's it. And the project has been moved. Now, if we go to issues, we will be able to see all the projects. Another thing that can ask you is whenever you move tickets from one project to another, they can also mention that the action has an issue, was an error that you couldn't move. Why you cannot move the ticket from one project to another project? The simple answer is, in order to move tickets from any project to Gabriela project, I must have permissions to create tickets into her project. If I don't have permissions to create tickets in her project, I cannot move tickets in her project. This is also another troubleshooting question they would ask you. And let's have a look. Let's see the next operation. I think we saw addition. which was more related with components and fixed version, we saw move, and then the other one is about transition. Transition, what will happen is will allow us to move one ticket or multiple tickets from any status to a specific status. But here as well, the question could be why some tickets cannot move to in progress or cannot move to done. And the reason or the answer for that is simple. If I open one of those tickets, this one, because already has been moved, I will open, for example, this one. If I open one of the tickets, I can see that my ticket has a workflow, a very flexible workflow, because from creation, I can go to backlog, and from backlog, I can go anywhere. So I don't have any issues in the example I'm doing. But if you have a workflow that doesn't have this arrow with all, and you have a specific arrows to go from one status to another status, maybe you will not be able to do that specific transition because there is not a path to go from that status to the transition you want. In our case, as we have a basic workflow without any specific type of directions, we can move everywhere. So it's simple. Maybe let me modify. Let me see if I can modify just to show you this in the practical case. They have a bit of time. So let's go to edit. This is my workflow. That's it a lot. Okay, let me create one new workflow and see if a new workflow works, and then we can match the status. Workflow. I'm going to include backlog. Still going to create a window. So I have when I create a ticket goes to backlog, I will remove open. I will add in progress. Review. And the last one. Done. So I created a very, very basic workflow. And instead of, let me add also this one. And instead of using all the workflows with the transition all, which is the simple one, I have a specific path, which means if I'm using this workflow, I cannot move from backlog to done or from backlog to on review. I need to pass necessarily to in progress to do that. So we are going to include this in the configuration. To configure or update the workflow as a project administrator, you don't have permissions for that. I'm explaining to you because to understand the concept. I will match to all of them. And then I have my new workflow. I'm going to publish. Here it's asking me what I want to do with this, with the issues with a specific status. For example, this one I want to move in progress, 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 all of them. Then associate. Perfect. So all my tickets now had a specific workflow, which is this one, which will block me the permissions to move from backlog to anywhere I want. They need to pass for the specific status. So I will refresh the screen. We'll try to do the same operation. And now, as you can see, there are two things. The first thing, I have only the action available. I have my status, source status, and the target status. And I only can see from in progress to on review. And I cannot go to anywhere because there is not an arrow to go from in progress to anywhere else. Let me move, but before to move, let me show you also one thing. Before I was saying, as part of the property of the ticket, open one ticket here. One thing is the workflow, which is this one, what I draw. Another thing is the status. And the third one, the component, is the name of the transition. In this case, for example, go from in progress to review. I need to click on the arrow, which is to review. And to review is here. If you click here, appears the name of the transition. When the ticket has conditions, you will not be able to see this. You will not have any arrow to cover. And now when you click on review, and then click on resolve, we include a screen. In the beginning, in the theory, I was talking about the screen you can add in the transitions. The screen is this one. I added one screen between on review to resolve, and the fields are here, are coming from my configuration of, well, the fields part of this particular screen, and the mandatory is part of the configuration scheme as well. Now going back, I'm going to refresh my screen again and just show you the transition and my tickets. Same, I have how many tickets can go from in progress to review is only one, and I can click on here, then confirm. And that's it. This is the bulk. And let's go back to the theory. Before to go, any other questions about bulk? No. Workflow automation. Workflow automation is basically same. They mentioned about workflow automation, but I don't think you have to do because it's not part of the ACP-620 as you are a project administrator and you are not a Jira administrator. But just to show you, when we customize and configure the workflow, which is on this side, let me open the workflow. I'm going to edit. When you customize this workflow, there are more actions you can do. One of them is on review. This is the elements I was showing at the beginning. You have the triggers, you have conditions, you have validators, more important conditions, validators, and then to automate things, post functions. So if we go to post functions, we will be able to add more actions after you move from in progress to in review. For example, anytime I move from in progress to in review, I want to update a field or clear a field is the simple one. I'm going to clear the field components. And then I'm going to publish. Before to publish, let me add another transition more to make it easier to manage. So whenever I move from in progress to on review, I'm cleaning the field called component. So now I will include the other one, which is called start or called back to progress. So whenever I move to in review, I can also back to in progress. And when that happens, automatically the component will be clean. Now let's publish the changes. If you don't publish your changes, your workflow will not be updated, so it will not be matched to your configuration. Now we update our workflow, which is this one. I'm going to open my ticket in this tab. So we are in progress. Example here. If I click on actions, I can go to review, and the component which has AWS has been cleaned. So this is another way to automate things. You can use the workflow, you can customize post functions and do actions after you do the transition from one status to another status. This is what they mean with the rules automatically trigger actions within workflows. Sorry, automation within apps. Other way of automate processing to Jira is using plugins. There are multiple plugins. One of them is Script Runner. Same. I'm not going to explain the Script Runner now because it's not part of the exam, but includes that you need to know that you can also include some plugins, additional automations those plugins offer to you. Let's do the most important and the key thing in this example is the most important automation solution we have in Jira is Jira Automation. How to configure them is simple. We go to project settings, we go to automation, and in automation, we have this screen. If you never configure any, you'll have this one. Let's create one rule. You can follow the first time you're creating is going to get you about how to create the rules. You have one thing is the condition, the trigger, when you're going to start this automation. This one is related to the events we have commented previously. The second is, do we want to affect all the tickets or some of them that are related to a specific condition? We can include this one as well. And then with the action, what do you want to do with all of them? So let's start. I'm going to typical use created issue. So when an issue is created, I want to check if the component is AWS or is Azure. If it's AWS and is Azure, let's do something. For example, comment. And then I will include here is creation. So let's start. I will call sample. And I'm going to test. The way to test is click on creation. This is an example. I'm going to select the component AWS, another example, and that's it. Let's create a ticket. So my ticket has been created, is this one. Now, if I go to automation, I can go to audit log and I can see what happened. As you can see here in audit log, allow me to see if my automation has been executed correctly or not. And if the case is wrong or is correct, you will see here the details of that. For example, the ticket 18 fits the condition we added, which is or AWS or Azure, then add the comment, which is this text, add this comment in the ticket. This is the way that the Jira works, is at an event, the Jira automation work is at an event you want to trigger. When that event happens, add a condition around this ticket or event, and then add an action. This is the basic standard way to do, but we can customize more. For example, I don't want to add just the automatic test creation. I also want to include in the comment who created. How can I do? Issue, reporter, name. And then I can also include the details of the description. And here's where the smart value is coming. As you can see here, I'm getting the value from the issue. From the issue, I'm taking the reporter. From the reporter, I'm taking the name. And with that, I will include in the comment. And then also I can do issue.scription brackets. So that's it. Let's try again. We go to creation. Let's create a second example. I'm going to select AWS again. Auto assign to me. Then create. So now I go to the ticket and go to my automation. If I go to audit log, I can see that I did a change. I saved the change and then I create a ticket. I can see the ticket is the 19. The ticket fits the condition, so went through. And then added a comment. This is an automatic comment created in creation, issue reported name, description, and then my smart values. How that looks like into the ticket. If I go to the ticket, I can see this is an automatic creation, and here is my ID because probably name is not a proper attribute. And then I also can see this description into the comment. Let me edit the comment. So this type of things you can do with a smart value. You can take one value from the ticket, mix together with other information, and add it into a comment, into a field. For example, I don't want to add the comment. What I want to do is, or I want to add in the comment, but also I want to create another ticket with the name I will create in another project. For example, I will create in Gabriela or J project. J company manage. I'll call issue summary. Issue description. Then I will include here the original from, I'll include the original ticket. Then by, that's it. Let's try to do that. So what I'm doing is now, whenever a component is created, if it's AWS or Azure, I'm going to add a comment, but also I'm going to create a new ticket into J project. The issue type, I can use the same issue type. So if I create a task, will be created a task. If I create a bug, will be created a bug, or I can specify the type. I can say, I want to create a task whenever a ticket is created into my project. And also here, I think we can include a link. So I would say is relate this to. So what is going to happen is whenever a ticket is created into my project and the conditions are AWS or Azure, I will add a comment with the smart values. And then later I'm going to create another ticket in another project with this summary, the previous summary plus the issue key from the source. Additionally, I will add here that original description and then we automatically create it. And also I will include a link between the original ticket and the target ticket. So both are linked. Save, publish, and play again. So let's click on create. This is the third. I'm going to select Azure in this time, some description, and that's it. So if I go to my ticket, what I will see is a new issue in the project of Jay has been created. That issue in his project summary has the same summary as the original one and has the issue key of the original one, and also has the same description plus this text automatically created. And I can do more things. I can definitely do more things. As part of the exam, what they are going to ask you is, for example, when you run this ticket or this event or this automation, who needs to have creation permissions? Does myself needs to have creation permissions to create a ticket in J project? If you go to the J ticket, you will see the report there is not me, it's Jira automation for Jira. So in terms of security, if we go to the automation and we go to rule details, we need to understand a couple of things here. One of them is the owner. The owner is whenever the issue fail, the automation fail, because something is not correctly set, the owner will receive notification. But in order to execute the automation and create the tickets or add the comments, we need to use a user. This user is called the actor. So we have two users in each automation, the owner and the actor. The actor needs to have the correct permissions, create permissions, browse permissions in order to do the action in the Destiny project. If the actor doesn't have, it will be an issue. So one question in the exam could be why the automation failed if the project manager of B has added a rule that has all the values, and one of the answer or potential answers is the actor doesn't have the correct create issue permission in the project destination. And let me go back to the, yeah, we did the Jira automation. Oh, the triggers, sorry, I skipped. I did the pre-creation and I skipped the triggers. Let me show you back into the creation. Let's create again. So we have multiple triggers here. The most important and the most common used is commented. When an issue is commented, the event is triggered. So we can capture this event. And when the comment is in the ticket, we can do things. We can remove, we can add comments, we can escalate. The most used is this one, issue commented. Another one very used is created, as we saw, or updated. So whenever a field has been changed, for example, the sprint of a ticket has been changed, I can do things. Or when a link is deleted, for example, here, if someone delete this link, I also can see that event and then I can do something. If a link is deleted and my ticket is a support ticket, I can notify to the manager and say that we need to have a look, or the issue has been moved, or the issue has been transitioned. So those are all the events you can do. You can review. There are multiple events. I would suggest to have a look all of them. I don't focus in DevOps. I don't really think the DevOps will come as part of the exam. And there is one automation that is related with the theory explained at the beginning. It's called Jira integrations. Jira integrations, what does, or sorry, in the integration section, incoming webhook, what does is allow us to publish an REST API, so anyone from outside can send us an action. For example, Teams can trigger an action into our Jira, and then we can do actions on here. This is in one direction from external application into Jira. And well, yes, that's it. I think I thought it was another one, but that's it. Then the other thing that could be interesting for you is the schedule. What is the schedule? Basically, you can set a trigger to be like an alarm. You create an alarm every week, every Monday to a specific hour, every day at a specific hour. You can customize the hour, you can customize the time zone as well. Also, you can, for example, let's say once a day, I want to create a task, create an issue in my project and say daily task, review what I did, what I'm going to do, what's blocking. So if I do this, what is going to happen is every day the trigger will run this schedule, and then later we'll create one task at 9 in the morning. So we have these functions related to issue event, related to project events, board event, sprint events, and also the schedule. And there are, let me save this one. Also, all the rules here, you can, if the rule is related to an issue, you can also open from here. For example, now in my ticket, I don't have any automation, so I cannot trigger. But you can also trigger automations from here, from close to the action button. And then another thing here is multiple project. This particular automation has been created into my project, and the permissions and restrictions, if I go to rule details, the scope is one project. But also I can do a rule that affects multiple projects, not just one. I can select globally, I can select multiple projects, or I can select a single project as well, can be part of the exam question. And I would say that's it. Oh, project templates. Before to finish, the last one, project templates. This is a tip and trick. When you go to Jira, there are multiple things, and I would say there are many options. I would recommend go to templates, and in templates you have multiple examples. For example, here, when an issue version is released, create an issue and a log word. Click on here, and then when my my version has been released, here the system is creating a new variable, a new smart value. It's called release duration in days. They call the script in a descriptive way. This variable has the value of version start minus version released in days. Those formulas I will not memorize. I don't recommend to memorize them. There are multiple of them. If you go to the smart value documentation, you will find, I think, easily 200 something formulas. This one not, but if you go to smart values, I don't really know where they are, but there are easily hundreds of formulas. The smart values for Jira, for projects, for lists, for text fields. And if you go there, you will see all these details. Let me just share this link. Is the master page. I'm going to share on Teams. That contains all the formulas. As I said, I don't recommend to memorize them. You just need to understand the key here is when you can create, if you can create with multiple projects, what permissions are related, and basic functionalities, no more. I don't think you need more for the ACP-620. For the 120, maybe you require a bit more advanced configuration here, but this is, I would say, enough. And let me see. I added additional material. Yes, you have automation quiz and lab if you want to follow. And before to finish, is there any question do you want to see or any clarification I said but wasn't clear enough to repeat? Go ahead, Jed.
You know, the owner of the role, when you create an
Yes.
automation, can
Yeah.
the actor be, can the owner be an actor as well at the same time?
Yeah, it's not a problem. But remember that they need to have permissions in the target project to operate or to, for example, if your action requires to update the ticket, that means you need to have the edition permission. If the action requires to update the assignee, you need to have edition permission plus assignee assign permission. You need to have two permissions. So the key thing in the actor, and this is very important for the exam, is you can change any actor you want, but the actor needs to have the permissions to operate and do the automation you want. In the case of creation, you need to have the creation permission. In the case of update or change ticket, you need to have the edit permission. If you want to delete a ticket, you need to have the delete issue permission. If you want to add a comment, you need to have add comment permission. There are multiple permissions we saw in the previous lesson, but let me just double check and show to you, which is a very good one. So you have a list of permissions here. All of them manage sprint, modify workflow, transition workflow, be assigned. Be assigned is not a problem, but assigned issues, yes, because the actor needs to assign issues, or create issues, delete issues, edit, link. The actor needs to have the right permissions to do these actions in order to don't have problems in the automation. Otherwise, it will fail. And because fail, you will see in the logs an error message. That was a good question. Any other question? Okay, if it's not, thank you very much, everyone, for joining to this session. And let's see you for the next one. If you have any questions about the how is it called? Sorry, the labs, please feel free. Let me know. You have the LinkedIn group. Ask your questions on the LinkedIn group. I hope all of them are correct, but you have the questions on top, and down you have the answers. If you want to double check your answers, you will have the answer plus the explanation why the answer is in that way. Similar, I tried to update all of them. Let me just show you. We have the materials. We have each day we are doing. We have, for example, we have in the second day, we have the slides we presented, but down in the end of the slides, you will see the additional material, the quiz and the lab. And also, if you want to see only the slides, only the quizzes, you also have filter over here. If you want to see the recorders, will be in this section as well. And for our LinkedIn group is this section. Again, I'm going to share once more this session. Yes, Olga.
I have one question. Can it be that quiz question by day 1 are the same with day 2?
Thank you very much. I didn't update. You're right. Let me fix the day 1. I will fix it by tomorrow morning.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
And then I have one, please, more. I have 2 projects. Let me see the name of my projects.
Yeah.
And this both for team manage Scrum and team manage view all projects. When I make sort Olga, then I see 2 projects, team manage software. By these 2 projects, I don't have permission to get in settings.
Okay, let me just...
I created 2 boards self, team manage software, and by this board, I have permissions for project settings, but not in 2 which I didn't create.
Yeah, it is also, it can be part of the question in the exam. The person who creates the board has the permissions to do. Let me see if it's this one. Is this one?
No, I think no. This key, I can send the key. I can send the key in the chat.
Yes, please.
Just a moment, please. This is first key. And This is second key. By this sports project, I don't have permissions to get in project settings.
Let's have a look.
The
Okay.
first one is wrong. It's not the right project. This is. Can you go to the all projects?
Is
Without T on the end.
okay, without T is this one. Perfect. So if I go here, okay, you appear as a project lead. Let's see what you have in the access. Yes.
Yes,
Let me-
I don't have access to this project and to second project too.
Okay, thank you very much. By the way, I wanted to automate the project creation from the ticket you raise, but I didn't have time. What I will do is I will add instructions. I will let as laboratory because that could be very useful to automate using REST API and Jira automation. It's a bit advanced, but very, very useful. Okay, the other project is this one. Let me see if you have access in here. This one you have access in. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry.
Not this project. Second was
this one. Yes, the second one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which details are necessary for reports? Which details of issue?
Good question. I'm going to share in the LinkedIn a CSV file. You can import the tickets into the system, or I will try to do a bulk update, and so we can have some data. If it's not, I will prepare with other environment, because we didn't add. I saw that not many people added tickets, so we will need to have another environment with some data to play the report part.
That will be helpful, because I tried to make more ticket sales, but it's cost very much time, and I didn't know which details are really necessary, important for reports.
Don't worry, I'm going to prepare environment for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.